Senior banker responsibilities during close, part 2. This is lesson 3 of class 2. In this lesson, we will review the steps and the procedures required by senior bankers prior to deal announcement and following deal announcement. Introduction. Part 2 of this lesson will review senior banker responsibilities following the deal announcement. The main responsibilities of senior bankers include utilizing all available analysis to support value proposition, meeting all conditions to close a deal, and ensuring that the client is maintaining normal business operations throughout the close. Support value proposition. As soon as the offer comes in, the bankers are going to do as much analysis as possible to negotiate the best purchase price for the client. The junior bankers will conduct most of the analysis, but the senior bankers will be responsible for presenting the analysis to both the seller and the buyer. The senior bankers need to effectively utilize financial analysis to negotiate better pricing. The value of the company is what a willing and able buyer pays for the target, not what is actually calculated in a DCF. For example, the value proposition of the buyer of the target to buyer X could greatly deviate from the value proposition to buyer Y. This could be due to a number of scenarios, such as better synergies, more complementary product sets and technology, easier integration, less friction, and more compatibility. These things need to be identified in business models, financial models, and other analyses, and the senior bankers need to clearly identify this when they're negotiating the deal with the seller and the buyer. Support value proposition continued. Senior bankers need to utilize all available analyses to position the client's market proposition in a manner that elicits the greatest possible value. Some examples to support value proposition include business models, distribution models, product sets, and product differentiation, customer bases, competitive modes, potential revenue or cost synergies with the buyer, current capital markets environments, and the current status of the auction process. For example, the banker needs to create FOMO, or fear of missing out. The banker needs to entice the buyer to want the asset. The banker needs the buyer to know if the buyer doesn't acquire the asset, then its competitors most likely will. Meet all conditions to close. The senior banker must ensure that the client is meeting all of their diligence and regulatory obligations. For example, submitting all necessary financial documents and schedules, opening access to product testing environments, conducting and complying with all legal and tax reviews, conducting and complying with all personnel interviews, and ensuring that the paperwork is properly submitted in a timely fashion to any and all regulatory bodies. In a similar fashion, senior bankers also need to ensure that the buyer is meeting all conditions to close. This could include ensuring that the buyer's diligence is on track to meet the expected closing date, ensuring that the buyer will provide a final draft of the definitive agreements at the expected due date, and ensuring that the buyer has the capacity to meet the financial obligations of closing day. This could include the submission of an equity or debt commitment letter from financial sponsors that are supporting the buyer in the acquisition. Ensure normal business operations. Not all deals close. For example, it is really important for the bankers to continue to advise the client to maintain normal business operations throughout the entire closing process. This closing process could take 2, 3, or 4 months. Therefore, the people managing the business cannot relieve duties, cannot have any unordinary outflows of cash, as this could affect the final purchase price. Additionally, there's an expectation from the buyer that the client or the seller is maintaining normal course of business operations up until closing. Furthermore, there should be no unusual or unexpected outflows of cash or working capital during this time, as this could be a penalty or reduce purchase price considerations. Thank you for tuning into this lesson. We look forward to seeing you in our next lesson, which will cover building and maintaining relationships.